again, let me know. Let me know what day you can play, and I'll try to fit you in. And I've done that. I've got people back in. So, yeah.
Right. All right. So we've got a question from Light and Passion. Says, GM roleplay query: playing a neutral character that was with the party to protect his town and of course loot. The town is now in a worse situation, and two lawful good characters are bitching at him for hoarding loot, stuff acquired when the party wasn't about. So in character, finding a hard reason for him to stay with the party. How to deal with finding a reason for the fallout of leaving the party.
I rest my case, Your Honor. That's why I don't play with alignments in my game.
Yeah. Well, I think alignment can bring a lot to the game, but
if the character plays it correctly, yeah.
Yeah. Why are they? I mean, why? There's in character. You could tell. If I was playing a true neutral character and I had a couple of lawful good characters on me. I'd be like, hey, I don't live the way you do. Deal with it.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, but for if you're looking for a deeper reason, why is the party together in the first place? Because sometimes you can get really interesting role play out of people who would not normally be together, having to work together for a common goal. Like look at Dragonlance. You had Sturm, who was basically lawful good,
yeah,
and then you had Tasselhoff, and you had so you can lead to some interesting storytelling, but I guess it would be what is the goal of the campaign? That would be your answer, is why are they still together?
That's why I don't like labeled characters, because when somebody sees the labeled characters, I have to play as lawful good, it kind of ruins the game. But if you play the character as if you were the one, using that shield, using that sword, wearing that armor, and if you were playing that, it's the same thing as having alignment, and the DM will recognize that. So I mean, I hate alignments. I'll be honest. I don't like them. I get it, and I believe that they do work in games and stuff, but I don't like to see LN. I don't like to see N. I don't like to see CE or NE. I just play the character as if you're immersed in it, and you're the one. You're the one on that piece of sheet. That you are representing that piece of paper.
Yeah. So that's fair enough.
And there will be repercussions. Believe me, even though you don't use alignment. I mean, look at my Rise of Tiamat game. Perfect example. They don't have alignments, but there's good and evil in there, and it's a good story. I mean, it really is. And I got one player that's not even in there, in another dimension again. It's so great. I love it. Anyways, sorry about that. That'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
I can tell that's one game you're having fun running.
It's very good. All my games I always enjoy.
Yeah, it comes back. I had one time, for role-playing reasons, there was a character that was not getting along with the rest of the party, and it didn't have anything to do with me not getting along with the people playing, but just the way we were role-playing it. There was a lot of tension. One of the other characters was constantly giving my character a hard time, and he was a kind of a chaotic type character, and he finally tipped his hat and said, later, and split. And everyone was like, huh, what? And there was like, at the time we were using, I think, Yahoo groups or something for our campaign. Everyone's like, what? I said, I'm not leaving. My character's leaving. Because role-playing, and they were like, so I just rolled up another character and brought him in. So, and I felt that was a good example of role-playing, because the character I was playing was basically a chaotic rogue kind of character, and sooner or later he's not going to put up with it anymore. Yeah. He's just going to get he's going to hot step it.
And instead of being 4-on-1 or 5-on-1, that rogue's not stupid. You did the right thing. Like Vey has done it too. Vey did it also. She did it in Hellfrost. I mean, that was a perfect example. And I set that game up for them to literally kill one party member, and she was the smart one. She got out of Dodge. So
she split.
Let's see. Sanders said that this is his opinion, but if they're your friends, they're your friends. So it really doesn't matter if they don't show. And yes, I do agree with that, because they're always going to be your friends. But if you have this commitment with people, usually you'll be there. You know what I mean? Unless unless you can't be there or something like that. So, but yeah, I totally agree. But if you go into this knowing that this person's only going to show up maybe once or twice a month, that'd be a fun character to have just pop in and pop out whenever. Yeah, no problem at all.
Well, you can also have, to solve something like that, you have a character that is understood to be an NPC when they're not there. So, and then the DM or somebody else can run the character when they're not there. Yeah. Now, this does change the dynamic of the question. If it's friends, and I'm not talking about people that you kind of know, I'm talking about buddies, friends. Yeah. Then of course you work them in whenever they can make it.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking in context. When I run my game at the gaming store,
like Roll20, or the gaming store.
These are not people that I'm like friends with. These are people who I see once a week. Mm-hmm. We get along fine. I like them fine. They like me fine. But we were coming together for the express purpose that everybody gets to play D&D, and we otherwise wouldn't get to play. And in that case, if it's somebody I really don't know that well, and they're only coming sometimes, and they seem half-hearted about it, I'm eventually going to say, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
That you can really do this?"
Maybe his friend's right, and he don't want to go or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, if it's a buddy, you always work them in because there's, you're getting, you don't turn away a friend, just because they can't make it all the time.
Lynx has got a question for you. It says a question for Shane. He came in late. He's a Roman Catholic priest, by the way. He's curious the things you're up to. Do you have any radio and TV stuff? So
Lynx, actually, the reason that Dave invited me on was, I've had him on my radio show once and tried to have him on a second time, and we're just doing some, hanging out with each other kind of thing. I have a weekly Geek Talk radio show on Saturdays at 1 o'clock Central. I'll post a link in here. And it's actually live Geek Talk radio that goes out over terrestrial radio, and it's games, RPGs, comic books, movies, whatever, you name it. It's just Geek Talk radio. But there's a heavy emphasis on role-playing games and computer games and that sort of thing. I also have a YouTube channel for Go Shane Plays, and I have the radio show also goes out as a podcast, and I have a blog. So that's basically what I'm doing. But my main thing that I do is my weekly Geek Talk radio show. So I'll post a couple of links. I posted them earlier, but it's an hour or two. Yeah. So we've been going a while there, Big Dave.
I know, man.
I'm fine to keep going.
11 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we'll do a couple more. We'll do a couple more questions here. We're trying to get all these.
All right. Let me get these links in here for the Roman Catholic priest. Where's your parish at, Lynx? Do you have a parish?
He said, by chance it's Little Rock, Arkansas. He said. Just kidding.
Seriously? Oh.
No, I'm out. No, he's in the Netherlands, man.
Yeah, I'm out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah.
Monkey says as a longtime DM, players not showing up is a pain in the butt.
It can be.
His players get 3 strikes, and then he has to get them to play bad guys. That's pretty cool. Nice.
I think that, like I said, if it's an acquaintance and everybody's coming together, the only time we ever see each other is just for the game, then I think that's totally fine.
Sanders says, at Monkey Misted, that would totally make me not show up 3 times in a row just so I could play a bad guy.
Yeah, and there's players like that.
Yeah.
I remember one time I had a player. It was during the starter set, Lost Mine of Phandelver, and the bugbear in Castle Cragmaw ended up getting into a fight with a doppelganger, and I thought it'd be interesting. I let one of my players. I said, "Here, you're going to play the doppelganger, and they're going to fight." My intention was they would fight. Well, he ended up trying to save the doppelganger and run and all that. I was like, and I was like, no, it was supposed to be a fight to the death. But he got himself inside the head of the doppelganger and started playing it as if he was, which he should. He's role playing.
That's the best. That's the best story in 5e so far. Lost Mine of Phandelver.
I thought it was good.
Adventure. Yep.
I thought it was actually pretty good.
My favorite one. I want to run it again because I love that game. It's an awesome game. I'm going to modify the shit out of it next time. I'm going to make it a lot more challenging than it was.
I'll tell you what my group ended up doing is hold on a second. Lynx, there's great fishing in Arkansas. Especially, I love to trout fish, but there's good fishing. The Arkansas is very much an outdoor state, so fishing, hunting, camping, all football. That. Football. So yeah, for the hogs, everybody loves to call the hogs. So okay, I totally lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
We were talking about we were talking about
Before?
alignments before. We were
Oh, I was talking about Lost Mine of Fandelver.
yeah, and Lost
So
Mine. That's it.
what my group did, and I love when this kind of thing happens, they've ended up establishing an adventuring guild in Phandalin.
Phandalin? Nice.
Yeah, and they've built up a really good relationship with Sildar. You know that Sildar Hallwinter. I think.
Oh yeah.
And,
It was the one they rescued from the caves.
Yeah, and so what we did.
Waterdavian. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a Waterdavian noble, or he's part of the Lord's Alliance. Well, what we did at the store, because when you play at a store, there's a certain amount of turnover. There's about a 20% turnover going on, because there's people who go, hey, I want to learn how to play D&D. They'll come in, they'll leave. I got Air Force guys we got an Air Force base locally, so they're kind of in and out. So to kind of help explain that, we came up with this idea of they establish an adventuring guild, and all these new characters that are coming in and out are part of the guild. Yeah. So that kind of helps explain that.
That's awesome.
And do you remember in the Red Brand hideout there was that Nothic?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So
they killed the Nothic.
Did they find it, huh? Nice.
Yeah. Well, they not only did they find it, but the guy that was playing, there's a pre-gen character who's a first level fighter. There's a couple of them actually, but this is the guy with
archer.
This is the guy with the folk hero background that thinks his destiny is to fight the dragon. The guy who was playing him turned him into a smack talker. So he started smack talking the Nothic, and it was very, very weird encounter. But it turned into a fight. They killed the Nothic, and they took the body of the Nothic into the village, and everyone's like, "These dudes are the baddest things on 2 feet. Look at them! Look at this thing they killed."
Yeah.
So they cut the head off and had a taxidermist preserve it, and Sildar gave them one of the old, because a lot of the houses in Phandalin are not occupied, right?
They're building them up, so yeah, there's
right. Yeah, so they get.
It was in ruin.
Yeah, they're in ruin. So they got one of those. They're building it up. They mounted.
I love
it. The Nothic head over the entrance to the guild house, and they call themselves the Vanguard of the Eye.
Oh, that's good.
It's really
I like it.
Yeah, so it's building up over time. Yeah. And when I did Out of the Abyss, because Out of the Abyss starts where there's like a group gets captured by the drow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They were a group that were on their way, because they were first level characters, to apply for membership in the Vanguard of the Eye. Nice. And a couple of the existing characters that had been through Lost Mine of Phandelver were NPCs that were leading them, and then the drow attacked and they got separated.
Thank goodness they weren't level 5. Or something, because it was for level 1 characters. But
yeah.
That's awesome. I like the way you did that.
I love it. And that came out spontaneously.
Yeah.
I didn't direct all that.
Yeah.
It just kind of came together.
Yep.
So
that's what I did with the game that I run for Chris Pramus and John and Wolfgang and all those guys. I transitioned them from Horde of the Dragon Queen, where they were in a tunnel. The tunnel gave away. They slid. They went unconscious. They came back, and bam, they're in the Underdark. They've got spears pointed at them. They're surrounded by drow. Bam, we're going to continue there. So that's pretty cool. So.
Yeah. See you later, Radacious. Thanks for all the questions.
See you, Rad.
I'll
easy,
tell you. Out of the Abyss, the first chapter for me was a challenge role-playing wise, and I'll tell you why.
All the characters, yeah.
All the NPCs you got to keep up with. Yep. Luckily, I found a handout, or there's a website out there that came up with stats for all the NPCs, and I made a handout out of that. But I'm starting, now that they have escaped and they're traveling through the Underdark, I'm starting to bump NPCs off, because it is a lot.
Oh, that's what I did. That's what I definitely did. In fact, I bumped off about 2 or 3 per encounter.
Yeah, well, I haven't quite done that.
I let them all survive. And then some I left for dead, and then they found the party later on down the line too.
Yeah.
And they were pissed off about that. So I had some internal conflict going there and stirred the pot. That was really good too.
I'll tell you, somebody posted, after every session of Out of the Abyss, I've been recording my notes and putting them on YouTube, and somebody put a comment that I'm totally stealing. Is such a great idea. the NPCs that have died, the Drow priestess is having them reanimated as part of the scouting party that's chasing them down.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
these reanimated dead
Yeah.
NPCs are going to show back up, and I
And
just
then
thought that was so
then you
great.
can go into your monster manual and pull out, the stats for like a wraith or some shit like that.
Right.
Maybe they turn them into something like that. So
Yeah, I just think it was. I just thought that was such a great idea. Looks like we got a couple more questions. Maybe we can do those in the wrap here. I know it's getting late for you.
I'll
And
answer.
I got to
I'll
do
answer
show prep tomorrow.
Sanders' question after the show. So
Okay.
let's see. See,
let's see
Red,
here.
K-Man, how do you guys prep for a new adventure? I try to read. Okay, how do you prep for an adventure? Probably do a lot of prep work. Here, approach new content, prep tips. Yeah, I do. I take a lot of notes, and every time I don't like to write in my books because I have to have the physical book, and that's where I read out of. Now, what I do is I always make a PDF of the book that I am running. So I will scan it, I'll print it off, and then I highlight it with highlighters. I do orange for names because you always have to know the names, and I always highlight the names, and then on a separate piece of paper that I keep independently, I keep in front of me of all the names for the chapter that we're doing, and then I also highlight those in orange. And then I use yellow. Yellow is for common information that is given to the party where they don't have to do any kind of checks, anything like that. Then I use a light blue highlighter that is for all the checks, any kind of secret doors, any kind of thing, anything that the party has to search for. And then I also use pink sometimes too, and pink is just like special things, loot and shit like that. So, but most of the time, yellow ends up going. It goes to yellow anyway, so that's what I usually end up putting it. But that's how I color coordinate everything, and then I like I said, I have an extra sheet of paper in front of me with all of the names that I can easily refer them to, and that was perfect for, Out of the Abyss, that first chapter in Velkenvelv. It was perfect. So that's what I do.
Wow.
How do you do it, Shane?
Man, you are one prepared son of a gun.
I do. I try
really
to.
are.
Yep.
You are
and
super
then
prepared.
I also look up on the Forgotten Realms wiki, in the Sword Coast Adventures guide, and any of the other modules. As for the Underdark and doing Out of the Abyss, I loved all of the flora and fauna section. So I did a lot of that with the mushrooms, the tables, the exploration, and stuff like that.
I love chapter 2 of Out of the Abyss where they go into all that. I mean, you could do a few weeks out of that chapter really if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of Out of the Abyss. What I do is, of course, I read the adventure, what the parts I expect are going to happen that night. I try to have an idea of where I want to end by that night. Now, that doesn't mean I want to railroad characters to go a certain way or to do certain things, but I have a general idea of where I want to stop that night, right? So I really prepare for that. Like for example, the other night's game, I knew that what I was doing was introducing them. We were just talking about the Out of the Abyss. They've just escaped Velkenvelv. It took them 2 or 3 sessions to get a Velkenvelv, and because we play it 2 hours at a time because it's up at the game store.
Yeah.
So I knew this next session was that I wanted to get them introduced to the Underdark, the ecology, the travel times, the fact that you can forage and there's all these different mushrooms and this and that and stuff you could do with, and I wanted to end with them continuing to travel towards their destination.
Yeah.
So that was an easy one. That's an easy one to keep under control. A lot of times where I'll mess up is, for example, during the jailbreak in Velkenvelv, it was going easier than I thought it was going to. Right, and I was like, "Wow, this is going really easy." So I threw one Quaggoth at them, and it just bogged everything down.
Yeah.
And by the end of that night, I wanted them escaping into the Underdark, and I totally messed up my timing by throwing that Quaggoth into it, and ended up they weren't even halfway through where I expected them to be that night. So a lot of my preparation is the timing of what I want stuff to happen, but I want to have a general idea of what's probably going to happen, and anticipate what I think the characters are going to do. I don't. Here's another thing that I'll do in this day and age. If I have time, I will go watch Let's Plays of how other DMs ran that portion to get ideas. Now, that doesn't mean I want to. Sometimes I'm like, there's no way I would do it like that. I like that DM, but sometimes you can get some pretty good ideas and an idea of what the players might do and that sort of thing. I'm one of these people, like whether it's public speaking or being on the radio or DMing, I'm fairly spontaneous. I don't want to be over prepared because then I come off wooden, right? I want to have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. I want to have familiarized myself with the content, but I don't want to memorize everything to where I'm just spitting it back out like it's, a recording or something like that. And the best moments in my games, and I imagine yours, Dave's, are the spontaneous stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and I try. When I first started DMing, I was doing a lot of word for word reading, and I was like, you know what, I don't like that. So I paraphrase it all. I can just look at something, and I can look at something as I'm explaining something, and I go a couple sentences ahead of time. So I'm telling a story, and then I'm also preparing myself for more information as I go. It's hard to do, but I've been able to train myself over the last 2.5 years. 3 years of doing this at so frequently that I've been able to, I can read something on another page and still remember what I'm doing on another page and prepare myself ahead. So it's hard to do at first, but you can train yourself to do it. So
here's another piece of advice. And plus
I memorize a lot of stuff too, and then I just re-paraphrase it. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's good to be familiar with the material, don't get me wrong. I just try not to, like, I used to be like, if I don't know everything about these next 5 pages like the back of my hands, and like I'm doing a doctoral thesis, then
January 12th 2014.
Right.
I remember we were in a small dwarven village of Velkenvelv.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to go into all that. So and here, let me tell you a dirty little secret. Unless the players are cheating and reading ahead on you,
I hate that.
They don't know if you're doing it quote unquote right or not.
No.
The important thing is that everybody's having a good time and you're telling a good story.
No.
Okay, that doesn't mean that the roles don't mean anything, and that doesn't mean that this or that doesn't mean anything. But if you need to get the story to a certain point and you narratively have that happen, the players don't know, right? I mean, the players don't know. So I'm not saying cheat. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is if things are going really badly, you can make them easier on them. Or if things are going way too good, you can have stuff happen.
That's why I change everything, because I've had players.
Yeah, they'll read ahead.
Oh, Dave, that didn't happen. What do you mean that didn't happen?
Yeah, what do you mean it didn't?
Or what do you mean that monster doesn't do that? If I want to fucking wing kobold, shooting 5 dart magic missiles or him throwing a fireball, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. It's just because it says kobold challenge level 1/8, dagger damage or short bow damage, it doesn't mean that there can't be magic missiles and healing words or cure wounds. I'll make that thing multi-classed with sneak attack.
Right.
I remember one time, I was trying to prove a point to one of my rogues because 5e was I wanted to transition the rogues into trying to have a tactical position to receive the benefit of sneak attack, which and I still think that way. I think it's perfectly legit to say, all right, you can't use sneak attack on a bow unless you're behind the target, or you can't use sneak attack unless you have a tactical position with a melee weapon. I think that's really fair. I think the way 5e has sneak attack is just to It's too boring. A rogue can sit back, grow roots like Tom Brady throwing the football 50 yards every play, or Peyton Manning, and just stand there and get sneak attack every time. There's nothing fun to that. Why don't you be creative and be tactical about it, and embrace a small change? Usually I don't do that to people. Usually I don't, but I was like, hey, let's try this a 3.5 way or a 4 way, and let's try to make the rogue a little bit more tactical than just a damage dummy. And I had one rogue. Well, that's not the way I started a rogue, because that is what I wanted to do. I said, so you just want to stand there and shoot your fucking bow? I said, okay, no problem. So that night, I created these bullywug gladiators, I called them, and they were so freaking powerful. And 2 of them almost took the party out. And every one of their attacks, they were getting sneak attacks, because I kept them pinned right next to one another, and they were just sneak attacking the shit out of the rogue.
So you gave the monsters the same advantage.
I gave them heals and sneak attack. Of course I did. Yeah. And then he goes, well, they don't get sneak attack. I said,
why not?
Why not? Yeah. Brizax, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I do.
I think that, I see no problem changing the rules if you're consistent. No. If you're like, this is how sneak attack's going to work.
It was something that, now the next time I ever start another 5e game, because I will do that. I will say, look, the rogue, you have to have a tactical advantage. You have to be behind the target, or at least on the side of the target, to where you get that advantage. All right? You can't be facing the target, waving at him in the face. Hey, buddy, guess what? Hey, dude, what's going on? I'm fixing to sneak attack you, and I'm even saying hi to you. Boom, sneak attack. You can't do that, dude. What are you talking? And then he falls over dead. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just sneak attack.
Like I said, if it's bothering you,
it's 5th edition. It's supposed to be easy. It's player friendly. So that's the way they wanted it. They didn't want all that. They wanted to get away from the 3.5 and tactical portion of it. But if I ever start another 5e, and that's a big if I ever start another 5e game again, the rogue will have to have a tactical advantage. And that's the only change that I'm doing to 5e. Everything else is by the rules. It's just sneak attack. So
like I said, there's nothing wrong with that if you
send your hate mail to Shane_plays. Thank
you. Sneak attack me with your email.
Sneak attack me, yeah. Sneak attack Shane with your email, guys.
Well, I guess in closing on my thoughts on that,
I have 500 YouTube comments I haven't answered in the last month and a half. So.
Oh, seriously?
I don't have time for that no more.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It can get overwhelming. I guess. As a DM, as long as everybody's having a good time,
that's all that matters.
They're not like if you have like 4 somebody's. This is still kind of going with how do you prep for a game. I've learned if you're going to give a speech, I've done a lot of public speaking for various reasons throughout my career. Most people want to write out the entire speech and then memorize it and then read it word for word when they get up there at the podium.
No, I don't.
There's there's 2 reasons that can mess you up. One, it comes off wooden and boring, and 2, if you lose your place, it's very obvious and you get all panicked. Mm-hmm. It's much better to write an outline of the main points you want to hit, know your subject matter, and give up and give the speech, and just every now and then refer to your outline to make sure you're hitting the main points.
That's all I do. Points. I know what I want to talk about with this point. I know I just need to get my points in order, and I'm good.
Right. Exactly. So. I see DMing as the same way. You don't have to be you don't need to spend a week studying every night for a one-night game. Just know basically what you're going to hit. And the other thing is, the players, unless they're cheating and reading the stuff, they're not going to know if you miss a milestone or not.
No.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It's like
really
Ex Votum says, if he catches a player cheating, he won't say anything until the next time. He'll change something, and then when they call something out, that's perfect example for me. Let's revert to that same game where I asked the player to leave because of the stealth check versus spiders. How we encountered the yellow. Remember the yellow ochres? The ochre jellies. They split when if you do any kind of slashing damage,
They will split.
they will split. So I have everybody in the party using long swords the whole entire time. They do slashing damage. So what happens as soon as they find an ochre jelly? Everybody automatically just starts switching to their spears and their daggers. I'm
Right.
like, guys, you have not ever used that. Like I
Right.
had one
But
guy.
suddenly,
All of a sudden,
yeah.
now you're using that spear, or now all of a sudden you're using that dagger. Oh yeah, I said, okay. So I just played it off. So
Well, here's how I handle that. I go, okay, you're
I
obviously
split them anyway.
Yeah, well, the way I handle it, I say you're obviously metagaming. I say
Yeah.
give me a nature check, and I'll tell you if your character would know to do that or
Yeah.
not. But I'm,
But
you
then
know,
you
but
make
if
the DC so ridiculous. Well, I rolled a 19. Okay, you failed the roll. I rolled a 20. Okay, you failed the roll. Well, a critical is always sorry, you failed
Yeah.
the roll.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had people ask, like, do we know anything about, like, there was a black pudding in Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Absolutely,
that was, and they managed to spot it legitimately.
Yeah.
And somebody said, do we know anything about this? And I said, give me a nature roll. And they rolled
Perfect.
a 20. They rolled a 20.
Then
And I went,
would give them information.
you know what I did? I said, you know everything. I actually handed them the stat block and said, because they rolled a natural 20.
Nice.
I said, your character has, like, made a life study out of this stupid thing.
That was your dissertation back in mage
Yeah,
school.
Pretty much. But yeah, I agree. Like, suddenly everybody's like, well, like when we were
Perfect.
rolling
I like
up our
it.
party, when we were rolling up our party for Out of the Abyss, everyone started going, everybody gets dark, don't do a character without dark vision. I said, shut that down. People play the character they want to play.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
metagame ahead of time and gear your character towards what you think the Underdark is going to be. That stuff drives me nuts,
I agree.
because it just drives me nuts, and the reason it drives me nuts, I understand the reasoning behind it. A logical
People wanna
mind.
win. Yeah.
Well, they want to win in a logical mind, but people should play whatever character they want to play.
I agree.
If they want to play, I've got a guy in Out of the Abyss that decided to play a blind rogue, and I'm working with him on it.
I like it.
Yeah,
Why not?
I'm working with him. He gets disadvantaged in all his fights, but he wanted to play a blind rogue, so I'm working with him on it.
Yeah.
Because that's what he wanted to try to do. So
Maybe over time, maybe you can cut the disadvantage out, and then maybe just give him like a minus something to rolls, and then eventually he can become like a monk, but a rogue, and he can actually see or whatever,
Yeah.
see like the lines in the Matrix or whatever, and shapes or whatever.
Well, what
Over
I
time,
did.
I'm not talking at level 2 or anything, but yeah.
Here's how I ended up working with it, because he's like, I want to be a blind rogue. I'm like, okay. So in combat, he gets a disadvantage. And remember that Quaggoth that I mentioned to
Yeah.
you?
Oh,
that
yeah.
thing beat him around like a pinata. I think he had to have the cleric bring him back up twice. But so what I did was I said, okay, for the sheer audacity of playing a blind character in a combat-oriented game like D&D, I'm going to give you one inspiration every session, just for the sheer audacity of it.
Yeah.
I said the other thing I'm going to do is for perception rolls that involve hearing,
Give him advantage.
I'm going to give you
Yeah,
advantage,
hell yeah.
because but in
Yeah.
combat, and it was pretty funny.
You're blind
They had
as a bat.
he's blind as a bat, and he's got, get this, he wants to use throwing daggers.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So
Oh!
here's the thing. Yeah, pretty much. So they had an encounter. Luckily, it was just with some giant fire beetles, which aren't that big of a deal. But they, in Out of the Abyss, when they have an encounter, you roll whether it's narrow or
Oh
two
yeah. Yeah.
Well, they
Marching
were in a 2 abreast long column with all the NPCs. He's right in the middle of it.
Oh my God.
And there's giant fire beetles at either end, and he's like, it came up on his initiative. He's like, which direction are they? And everybody's like, no, we got it, because he's right in the middle. Even no matter which way he throws, he's probably going to hit somebody.
Yeah, if he rolls low enough, hell yeah. Yeah.
And so that there's that Kuatoa. There's the Kuatoa that like wants to study the ways of peace. I don't know if you remember his name.
Yep.
Shushar.
Yep,
He's
Shushar,
like,
yeah. He was my main NPC. I love Shushar.
it just so happened. Well, everyone loves Shushar and everyone loves Stool, right?
Yep.
My party
Oh
loves
yeah,
Stool.
yeah, a little
Yeah,
mushroom. Yeah,
but
Mike
but
and Ed.
Shushar just happened to be next to him in the marching order, and he's like, "Now is a good time for you to study the ways of peace, my friend." And it was really good. It was just a really good moment.
That's
So
good.
yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna have to run, man.
All right, buddy.
But man, thanks for having me on. It's
It
been
was
a
fun, man.
blast.
It's been
Yeah,
fun, man. We only planned on going till about 10, but Jesus, it's
yeah,
almost midnight. How
yeah,
time flies, man.
yeah. Maybe we can do this again sometime. So just
We'll
let
do
me
it
know what you
again.
want to do. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do it again and pull someone else in, and then we'll do
yeah.
like a three-way DM thing, and just have people and ask us
I'll tell
questions
you
all
who
night
we
or
should
something like
get
that.
is Arvin Elleron. I bet you he would do it. Gregory
Yeah,
Wilson.
let's get
I bet you
Arvin
he
here.
I
Yeah,
bet you he would jump on and do
yeah.
it.
I'll send him an email, and I'll see if Arv wants to do it. I'm sure he probably
Yeah,
will.
he's a
So
cool dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love Arv, man.
he just had Monty Cook and Patrick Rothfuss on his stream. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. No,
Yeah, he
no.
had Monty Cook because they were talking about Numenera tides, torment tides, and
Well, he's an
somehow,
author, so he's an
yeah,
author. He
yeah,
write he's had several novels published, so he has those connections. So
yeah. Well, let's see if we can get
yeah, perfect. Yeah, yeah. I'll
the
have
chat.
Arv come on. Yeah,
The chat scene. The chat says three-way DM rant, unprecedented. Three-way DM thing sounds
let's do
kinky.
it.
Three-way rant. Let's do it, man. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
I'll
All right.
send him something the next couple of days. So
All right.
Shane, thanks again, buddy.
Yeah.
Post your stuff in the chat one more time before you get out of here,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll get with you when I hear back from Arv, and
All right,
we'll
man.
set something up for a couple weeks or maybe a month or something like that down the road. So
Dude, I would love it. And I know I enjoy just chatting about all kinds of different things. But with Arv, if we
yeah,
want to make it more Q&A on DM,
yeah,
whatever, I don't care, man. It's
yeah,
been a blast. Thanks for having me on. Thanks everybody
yeah,
for
man. Thanks for hanging
the
out.
questions and for hanging out with us and stuff. And I will talk to you later, Dave. You're a cool. Do you know the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Did you ever read any of that stuff?
There was a movie out for that, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. But in the books,
I
there was
never
a
read that.
compliment. It was a high compliment, and
Oh,
it would say you're a hoopy frood. So
a
you are
hoopy
a hoop.
fruit.
You're a
Thanks, man.
hoopy frood, dude.
Well,
So
you're
I
a
just
hoopy
want you
fruit
to
too,
know that.
man.
All
And
right.
I would totally give you a big hug and kiss right now if I could literally get my
I
hands
feel,
around you.
your beard's looking pretty good
That
tonight,
was,
big guy.
thanks, man. I'm
Yeah.
thinking
All
about
right.
cutting it off, to be honest.
No, don't do
Yeah, I
that.
am. I'm thinking about
All
getting
right.
rid of it. But,
Oh man, that's hardcore. All right, we'll
my
catch you guys
midlife
later.
crisis and a midlife crisis. So,
Is that what it
Shane,
is?
yeah, it is. I'll see
You're
you
the
later
only
on.
person I know of whose beard has had a midlife crisis. So that's a mighty beard right there, son.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Oh, see you, man.
They're like, whoa, that just
Elvis,
took a turn.
whoa, that just took a turn.
All right, bye.
See you, man. Take it easy. All right, guys. There you go. That was wow. Whoa! Hey now, everybody. Hey now. So there you go. Thanks, Shane, for hanging out. That was fun.